All right. Sorry for the little delay there, but the Xbox 2 podcast is now live. I'm one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19, and with me, as always, the sleepy, but I'm trying to think of a different adjective to describe you, but either way,
Intrepid.
the sleepy but intrepid Jez Corden, who is so excited to be here. What's going on, buddy?
Right, man. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been an amazing week of gaming. Oh man, I finished Spider-Man and I went right into Laura in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So I have a smile on my face that is just super huge because I
I
love.
played a bit of that, so we can talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, that's right. Man, what an incredible like week of gaming, man. There's this. I don't know. For a couple months there, I was a little bit down. There wasn't much to play. I was playing PUBG, Jez. And you know what?
Oh god, I'm shocked.
You're shocked, but after playing like Spider-Man and playing Tomb Raider and stuff, I just realized PUBG is just a gigantic waste of time. It's a time filler.
Rand,
It's
Rand, we had this conversation about 20 podcasts ago where
I know.
you said, I'm going to quit PUBG because it's a big waste of time. And here we are again. You're
I
still
know.
playing
But it's like when a great game comes out that I play, and I'm like, and I see it's like, wow, Spider-Man's this nice juicy steak, you know, Tomb Raider is this, like mouth-watering hamburger, right? And then you look at PUBG, and it's just like a quarter pounder from
PUBG.
McDonald's that's like barely heated. But you
Sometimes
go
you
to it
want a
because it's
quarter pounder from
cheap.
McDonald's, man.
Yeah. So yeah,
No, I
that's
do.
I don't know. Like I haven't played PUBG in a little bit because I've been playing a whole bunch of different stuff. Spider-Man. I've even played Blackout, the other
Spider-Man.
the other mode for Call of Duty Black Ops. Um
Call of Duty.
but how you doing, man? How's your week been? You doing good?
Been all, been all good. It's been busy preparing for Christmas stuff. Been writing a lot of Surface Go stuff this week, not much game stuff. But it's been pretty chill,
Pretty
chilling.
chill. Shout out to Overdone for the super chat already. Thank you so much. He says, "What's up, Rand and Baby Cat and Digimon Avatar guy smirking emoji." There you go,
I
the Baby Cat Digimon guy. That's right. So,
drew that. I drew that emoji. It took me 10 seconds.
yeah. So we have a whole bunch of topics we want to get through. We're going to talk about Xbox Scarlett secret sauce. What? Uh,
Yum.
Jez has some PlayStation 5 leaks, maybe, possibly. I don't know. PlayStation Network leaks,
I
maybe,
don't know.
maybe. I
I
don't know.
just had a couple of bits and
Yeah.
pieces.
So we're going to talk about our impressions of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which launches tomorrow for everybody. So maybe we'll give some our advice about whether or not it's worth picking up for $60. I'm going to go in depth on Spider-Man, Spider Bro, because I finished it. We're also going to debate the Call of Duty Blackout versus PUBG Battle Royale. Is PUBG screwed, Jez? Is PUBG screwed because the AAA developer has finally come out and done Battle Royale right? Are they fucked? Probably shouldn't have said that, but they might be screwed, Jez.
They might be.
So yeah, they've got a whole bunch of stuff. If you guys have any comments, you can always post them in the comment box. If you guys want to have a topic read out loud or whatever, there's super chat available. Thank you guys for being here with us, and thank everybody for listening. If you're listening to this later on Google Play or iTunes or SoundCloud, we appreciate everybody being here. And let's get into it. So first things first, games played, because that's the most important thing about gaming. Screw the leaks. Screw the Xbox Scarlett. Games. That's why we're here in the first place, and that's why I like talking about them in the beginning of the show. And Jez isn't going to talk about World of Warcraft anymore. It's done and over with, right?
Kind of, actually. I've reviewed the game. I reviewed it now. Did you see my review?
Actually, no, I didn't.
I gave it 6 out of 10.
Sick. Okay. I thought you'd give it a 10 out of 10, but hey, shout out to one of my best friends, Tim Dog, Beastfire. Beastfire Tim Dog. I love him. He says, "Please drink, Jez. Love you guys, best duo." Tim Dog is the best. Would you agree with me on that one, Jez?
Tim Dog's a bro. He's a great friend.
No, Topsy says you want Rand to drink. No, Rand doesn't drink. I haven't had a drink in probably 10 years. You know what? I actually haven't had a drink since I was out with Tim and Jeremy at E3 back in 2016. And I only had what I have. I had a Long Island iced tea, but I had one. I don't drink. Because the last time I got really drunk, I ended up passed out laying in my own puke in my front lawn. But that was back when I was like 18. So
that's just a regular Friday in Britain.
yeah. So I don't drink. So
That's the smart thing.
What do you want to talk about, Jez? What game do you want to talk about?
Well, as I say, I reviewed World of Warcraft, and you're probably shocked to hear that I gave it such a low score. Do you want to know the truth about? I won't go into it in depth because people are probably sick of hearing about it. But World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth, the leveling experience. When I was going off on it last week about how hyped I was for it and how much I was enjoying it, that was the leveling experience, right? But like, I didn't want to review the game until I'd experienced the end game experience, which is trash. This expansion. So I couldn't even though I enjoyed the leveling experience a lot and they're really, really fun. The quests are really good. The story was really good and all that sort of stuff. The end game is completely broken. Half the systems don't work properly. There's insane time gating. Some of the stuff Alliance players won't even see for 3 weeks. It's just a clusterfuck, man. And if you go on the web subreddit, it's just rage, complaining, and Blizzard just being radio silent. So that's the story of Battle for Azeroth. Over and done with for the moment.
But you also played something else.
I did. I played Shadow of the Tomb Raider quite a bit. Not a few hours. Probably not as much as you. Yeah. But,
I'd say I'm probably 7 hours in. I got past the first town with actual people where you can engage in conversation and stuff.
All right, yeah.
So I don't know. Are you about where I'm at, or are you far?
I'm in the jungle right now.
Jungle. Oh man, does that game look good or what?
It is stunning in 4K on the Xbox One X.
See, I knew it. Here's where we're gonna differ here. You're playing it on high resolution mode. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
You want those. You want those pixels. You want that resolution. You want it to shine in 4K. What do you think I'm playing it in?
I think you're playing in peasant mode.
Peasant mode? Excuse me, sir? Excuse me. Yeah, I chose high performance mode because I need those.
I want to see the leaves, man. I want to see the leaves.
You can see them pretty well in high performance mode.
I want to see blurry leaves. I want to see crisp leaves. Glistening with little blades of grass in full resolution. I don't want blurred leaves, mate.
Well, you could play it on PC and get 4K and 60 frames.
Yeah, that's the dream.
That is the dream. Maybe next generation on console, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I've been playing it on high performance mode. There is some stuttering in high dense areas I have noticed. Sometimes I will switch it to 4K because you can switch it on the fly. But my God, the game is gorgeous. I love the areas you start in the beginning, like the jungle stuff. However, the game's not without its faults, and maybe you'll agree with me here. So I've played it about 7 hours. It's very so far heavily focused on exploration and puzzle solving, right? Which I enjoy because it actually you actually feel like you're Tomb Raider. You're the Tomb Raider. You're Lara Croft, uncovering secrets in the crypts or going through.
I've just got to interrupt you a sec. What is it with Americans calling Lara Croft Laura Croft?
I don't know.
What is it? I was streaming it with Roby the other day, and he kept calling Lara Laura over and over again. I was like, "It's Lara, damn it!" Stop.
It's whatever I want it to be, Jez.
Well, but the thing, I mean, with regards to the exploration and stuff, I did notice that it seemed less shootery.
Well, that's the thing. I played it for 7 hours, and I've killed 20 people. I've barely been in a gunfight.
That's good, though.
Well, okay, yeah, well, right, because I agreed with your tweet because you said you love the game, the puzzles and all that stuff are great, looks amazing, but the gunplay is still whack. Which I agree with you. If you're the pistol and the shotgun and the AK, yeah, the aiming's not very good, or at least the gunplay is not. Which is why I always use the bow in these games. Because the bow is still
everyone used the bow. That's why everyone was saying, "Well, I don't use the gun; I use the bow." And I say, "Yeah, you use the bow because the guns are garbage. The guns in Tomb Raider are terrible. They've been terrible in every game. I don't know why they think it's okay to have guns and then just ignore them. I mean, it's almost like the devs forgot that the game actually has guns in it. Like that, like all those guys too. They're all just using the bow as well.
Well, right. So I guess, this game focusing more on exploration and puzzle solving is a plus because that means less combat, but that does you do get some weird pacing issues. You know what I mean? Where it's like you're doing so much heavy puzzle solving, trying to figure out the challenge tombs, and then you'll get one short section of like maybe 5 or 6 dudes, and then that's it. And then you're back doing that. It's like, I wonder if they thought, like, could we create a game where you didn't really need to have combat or something? But I mean, I'm early on in the game. I'm like 7 hours, and I've been like exploring as much as I possibly can because that's what I like to do in these games. And I'm just wondering if the combat picks up at all, or if it kind of stays in this relatively low amount. My buddies who have played it pretty much said that the game is pretty much like 40% puzzle solving, 30% like climbing, 10% stealth, 10% shooting, which would be a really a big departure from the last 2 games. But
it is strange. Like, I actually, like, when I was playing it, I remember thinking, like, obviously I haven't played it as that much yet, and as I tweeted, I'm actually going back to play Rise of the Tomb Raider to finish that off first, because I haven't finished Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I want to play them chronologically. So I've gone back to that, but I did notice even in like the 2 or 3 or 4 hours that I played it, only one gunfight and so far, and I was just like, wow, gunplay is still really bad. The stealth seems a little better, more improved and brutal. Yes. Like, I like the way you can like cling to walls that are covered in vegetation.
And Laura's a dirty, dirty girl.
She is.
She gets mud all over all the time.
Yeah, she does. She gets covered in mud, and she loves it. But I actually remember thinking, this feels like the old school Tomb Raiders, and I can barely remember them because I did play the old school Tomb Raiders, but I was a wee lad, and I rented them from Blockbuster Video, and I didn't complete them because I'd only rented them. But I did all that stuff like locking the butler in the fridge and the time trial thing at in a mansion. Like, she got like an obstacle course. I think that was Tomb Raider 2 actually, which had the course. Maybe both of them had it. I don't know. I can't remember. But I remember thinking, like, this is more. It feels more like the old school Tomb Raiders where like the most combat you might have experienced in an hour was maybe one wolf or something.
Yeah.
And the one wolf was deadly, and it could like really mess you up. Like, like a survival game. It wasn't like a third-person shooter. It wasn't like Gears of War, and that's not personally what I want from. That's not what I want from a Tomb Raider game, personally.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the story, I couldn't tell you if it was good or bad. So far, I mean, it basically starts out with you, in the very beginning of the game, you steal a knife that starts supposedly the apocalypse, and then you're trying to stop that. It's got a really cool. Man. It is. It's a dark game. It's dark, and Laura seems a little bit more calm. She doesn't really get too excited like she did in the previous games.
You say calm. I say she feels a little bit more sociopathic.
I noticed that in the beginning, but where I'm at, she's totally like calmed down. But in the beginning,
there's a part in the. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a part where she's in the airplane, and the guy Jonah she's with is like feeling bad because of the stuff that happened, and she's just like still talking about all the archaeology, like that's all that matters, and it's just like, damn, Laura's crazy. She's lost it. She's unhinged.
She's unhinged. Yeah, I mean, we'll see where the story goes, but yeah, I can't wait to dig back more into it after the podcast is over. I will be, going and playing more, essentially. I want to get a review out for you guys maybe Saturday or Sunday, depending on how much I can play it. I did want to talk to you about the difficulty options here. Because it's more than just... Cool, because it's more than just, I want to play it on very hard or normal and easy. There's actual, like, difficulty settings for each part of the game. There's a difficulty setting for combat, a difficulty setting for exploration, and a difficulty setting for puzzles. And that is something that I would hope more games adopt in the future. What do you think about that?
I agree. I'm playing it on like I usually play games on the difficulty above normal. Not insane, but I usually play them on like hard mode just because not because I'm pro, but because the opposite. I like because I suck and I die more on hard mode. That makes the game last longer. So but like with Tomb Raider, it's kind of like you can make it feel a bit more like a survival game because you have to scavenge for health kits and health doesn't regenerate as much and stuff like that. And you can sort of tailor it to the game you sort of want to play. I notice more and more games are doing this now. Like even some older games like Skyrim and Fallout added survival modes later on. So I think it's cool. Well, that's the age we live in, where games get updated, I guess. And
Yeah, because like the exploration, if you play it on hard, it doesn't give you those white markings, kind of like the subtle white markings of where to jump or where to go. So it's like you have to figure it out more for yourself.
Because I was streaming it with Roby on Mixer, and he was playing on normal, and I was playing on hard, so I didn't have any of the survival instinct stuff. So when I got to the jungle, the first jungle part where you have to find a bunch of objects to craft a knife or something, I just couldn't find them because there was no quest markers telling me where to go. So I actually had to explore, and it felt more immersive because of it. It was a little boring to watch as a stream because I was just running around the jungle and no one could say what I was doing. But other than that, it's a more immersive way to play, I find.
Yeah, like play it on hard on the exploration stuff. The combat, I mean, that's how, if you want to play it on normal or hard, that's up to you. I am planning on doing 2 playthroughs because I want to get the completion in the game. I want to get the full 1,000 because I'm back on Xbox where achievements I do like. We're on PlayStation. I don't give an F, So I am gonna play it eventually on very hard, which the game only saves at fire pits, at base camps. So if you die, it's like you could be going back very far. But so far, like I'm quite enjoying it. Although I'm wondering if and when the combat picks up. But that's it. I'm only 7 hours in. And hopefully it gets better. Hopefully they, have you done a lot of the challenge tombs? Or the challenge things?
I've only done the one so far, and it gave me like some boots for some really ugly armor set.
Yeah, that's
armor sets too.
You know what? I don't like that. Okay, so they have these crypts and they have these challenge tombs, and usually the reward for exploring through the crypt and completing whatever platforming thing it has or solving the puzzles is like a new outfit for you to wear, right? And then the outfit needs to be crafted with animal hides and cloth. But the outfit is usually ugly looking, but it does give you some like extra abilities, like, oh, you'll be more silent while walking, or you get twice as many resources from from plants or whatever, right? But the thing is, I find most of the outfits to be ugly looking. My lore doesn't want to look ugly.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
There does seem to be cosmetic outfits you can put on top of that, though. I think, at least I got because I played the old Tomb Raider games. I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I played the old Tomb Raider games, and I think it gave me her outfits from the old games. Mm-hmm. So because of that, I was able to layer those on top of the stat boosting armor. I think, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and the couple of the challenge tombs, I've done 3 of them. They're well done. They will make you think about how to complete it and stuff, and they do give you like a skill at the end that is automatically unlocked. Like I got a more health regeneration, and I forget what else I got for the other 2, but I really enjoy doing that. So it definitely seems like if you played Tomb Raider and you really enjoy the puzzle solving and your exploration more than the combat, then this game is for you. But if you were ones who are like, hey, I want the amazing set pieces and I want combat, I want to kill people over and over again, maybe it's not for you. Or maybe you should wait, because it doesn't seem like, at least for right now, there's a lot of combat to be had,
It was risky of them to go that route, but I don't know. I think if you're a fan of the classic Tomb Raider, you might really enjoy it. And I've really enjoyed it so far, just sort of playing it at my pace, exploring. I've actually been reading the collectibles as well,
Yeah,
like a nerd.
me too. Yep.
And I like that about Tomb Raider. But I think the reason I like that is because I hate the combat so much. The gunplay just feels so low tier. The kind of shooting I'd expect from an indie dev or something.
Yeah, this is what people would say the B team, right? Because Crystal Dynamics was always the one behind these Tomb Raider games, but they're working on the Avengers title, the big Avengers project, which we know nothing about. So this one was actually handled by Eidos Montreal, who made Deus Ex: Mankind Divided last, I believe. So there was kind of that worry that this was going to be a Mass Effect Andromeda situation, where instead of the real BioWare making it, you had a BioWare B team, and
C team.
we're and look what happened to the franchise. But I don't know. For right now, it definitely doesn't feel like a B team. Definitely feels like they just kind of focus more on puzzles and exploration than the combat. But I'll give my cinematics look great. I mean, the game looks great on the X. I mean, Jez is playing on the peasant mode, 4K. I'm playing it on real mode, 60 frames. And
I just like seeing my leaves, man.
I know you like seeing your leaves, but you can still see the leaves in 1080p.
I know 60 FPS leaves.
But then again, I was thinking to myself,
4K leaves.
Because my buddy Magic said this to me. He's like, why choose? Like, he's like, I get 60 frames for something like Forza Horizon, right? Racing game. You need the smooth inputs, fast reaction times. He's like, but like Tomb Raider, especially if Tomb Raider doesn't have much combat, don't you want to get the full graphics instead of the frames?
That's what I'm talking about, man. Like, I play 60 on Battlefield. I play 60 on a shooter. But on a cinematic action game, I want to see my leaves, man. Give me my leaves.
Just wants the leaves. All right. So that's our Tomb Raider discussion. Anything else game you want to play or talk about, Jez, that you played?
I think that's it. I think that's all I played, really. I've been playing Overwatch a bit again. Just to, Overwatch, the game.
You were really into Overwatch at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, I've got back into it because of this hamster. They added like a hero that's a hamster, and he's really fun to play. Oh man, I'm not even going to go into it, but he like can turn into a ball and you can roll around. It's hilarious.
Hilarious, huh?
It's hilarious, simply put.
So I finished Spider-Man up, Spider-Bro. Yeah, and it's really good. And I remember
I'm shocked.
Are you shocked though, Jez?
No.
What when I told you how good it was and how well it's selling, what was your comment to me in DM? You were like, why couldn't Sunset Overdrive be that good or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking that. It's like, why did... I mean, obviously Spider-Man has a beloved IP attached to it, but it's not just that. It just feels like... I haven't played it myself, obviously, because I don't have a PlayStation. But just looking at the videos, it's obvious that it's a better game. The combat looks cooler, more varied, and it looks more imaginative and all that sort of stuff.
And there's money on it, like, thrown at this game. This game has a really, really high budget, especially when you compare it to Sunset Overdrive, which is unfortunate because I love Sunset Overdrive and I still hold out hope for a sequel eventually. But
didn't they recently comment on Sunset Overdrive 2 sequel?
They said they would love to do
a podcast with IGN.
Yeah, like, they would love to do one, like a full blown on sequel. Which of course they would. It's their IP that they own, But as a developer doing because Spider-Man obviously, like, it takes a lot from the Batman games, clearly, right? Combat is very similar. The stealth sections are exactly almost the same. And I'm really impressed at how Insomniac nailed it. Like, their first game, their first foray into Spider-Man, and it's almost as good as Batman Arkham City. Almost. I still think Arkham City is like the gold standard when it comes to superhero games. But my God, did they nail everything else? To swinging through the city? Like, what it's like to be Spider-Man in an open world New York City with actual people around you, congratulating you for stopping it. And you got J. Jonah Jameson on the radio, like a crazy Alex Jones, telling you why everybody, no, Spider-Man's, he's doing this, right? Like the combat is so fluid, but different from Batman's in the sense that it's not like Batman always kind of was, you were magnetized to each character. You get into a group of like 15 people and you're always kind of within that group, just bouncing off one thing to the other. But Spider-Man is a little bit more open. You have more like bigger arenas. You have enemies that definitely have more guns, different types of guns. All like, because when Batman got into combat with people with machine guns, they would kill him pretty easily. But like Spider-Man, since he's so agile and he can go up in the air and dodge and do all that stuff, you fight a lot more enemies that have pistols and rocket launchers and machine guns. So it's a little bit more open and spread out, which is why like they give you like the gadget wheel to use to kind of like set up different scenarios instead of being able to use the gadgets within the free roam of combat. But man, does Spider-Man also really kill people though? Jazz, he straight up murders everybody in this game, dude.
He does? I was going to ask that, actually. Does Spider-Man kill? Because I don't know.
He kills. He kills. Because there will be scenarios where you're on like a 100-foot building, 100 floors, and you are just knocking people off those buildings, and he ain't trying to save them.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, dude. He murders. I mean, you can pick up like bicycle, like motorcycles at people and throw them. At them. Oh, he straight up just murders people in this game, which is fine.
Is that true to his comic book version?
No, Spider-Man doesn't kill people, just like Batman doesn't kill people, even though maybe Batman has killed people in the past. But yeah,
I don't think he has in the books. Oh, I don't know. Who cares? I'm not even going to get into the comics. Which Batman is the real Batman? Which universe is? Oh God. I
remember I was on top of one of the bases. Doing one of the base like clear outs or whatever, and I was just literally just knocking people off this building, It's like, okay, and he doesn't web catch them before they're falling. But like, I guess J. Jonah Jameson is right. Spider-Man is a murderer. Either way, I mean that's just a funny thing. I mean it's within the game context, but I just kind of was like. Because they like the Arkham games went out of their way to make sure that Batman didn't kill anybody, and here's Spider-Man just murdering folks left and right. But shout out to the Ravenflow for the super chat. He says, "Imagine Spider-Man 2 with Venom and Carnage, right, for the PS5."
It sounds like they've left a lot of the big name villains out of the game specifically for them to come back and headline later on. Like, I'm not that familiar with Spider-Man, but I know people like Carnage, Dr. Octopus, and Venom and stuff. They're like household villains.
Yeah, so I have a few people in chat saying that when they fall off, that Spider-Man will web trip wire them to the buildings. He knocks people off buildings. In some places, he sticks to the building. They get webbed to the building. Like, I know sometimes he does that, but a lot of the times he doesn't, which it's not even that big of an issue. Like, I'm not docking it points. I'm just saying it's just funny in a scenario we're on this like 50-story building and I'm just throwing enemies off the side of the building, It's just funny. But I mean, the game's not flawless, Jazz, okay? It's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. It suffers from what I call Ubisoftitis. Open world Ubisoft design.
No. Jim Sterling coined a term for this. It's called ubification.
Ubification. So there's the map is full of things to do, but most of them aren't really meaningful things. They're kind of just rinse and repeat. Hey, you can go and you can unlock this tower. Yes, a Ubisoft tower, Jazz. You unlock a tower, which then gives you access to everything that's going on within the district.
Yeah.
Right. You can chase pigeons. You can do these research stations where you go through smog to get research tokens. You can complete these bases, which are like usually waves of enemies to get base tokens. You can stop random crimes to get crime tokens, and then use all the tokens that you get to upgrade your gear and craft the new suits in the game. It's just, that's my biggest complaint with the game. Is the open world design. It feels uber bloated and not in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those sorts of open world games anymore. Well, I never was really, to be fair. But like before, it was kind of like, well, okay, not every game does this, but now every game does it seemingly.
Yeah.
I'm worried that Rage 2 will be like that, with its open world, but also I doubt it because it's gonna have vehicles and stuff like that. But I expect Crackdown will probably have some of that, right? But it's weird because in Crackdown, people praise hunting down all the agility orbs and stuff like that.
Yep. They sure do.
Which
They sure do.
I think it's boring hunting tokens in the open world.
I mean, the swinging in the game and the momentum based like web swinging that has you do is so good that I actually found myself completing the collectibles and going to do the side missions because I was enjoying getting around New York City so much. Like they completely nailed that aspect. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of collectibles. You got landmark collectibles where you take a picture of a building. You have 55 book bags spread about for you to find. You have all like there's so many different things, and some of them it's like you want a little backstory about about what Spider-Man's been doing. Sure, you get those things, and the other thing because with this Spider-Man is he's been Spider-Man for 8 years, Jez. Like there is story and history here. Like him and MJ, they're broken up. You know what I mean? Like
Oh no.
he's already fought Rhino and Electro, and these people all exist, and there's like stories and adventures that already happened, which I actually really appreciate because I didn't want to sit through another game of like, hey, I just got bit by a spider and here's my powers. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Or another, like in Batman, where every single new Batman movie has to go over the fact that his parents are dead.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I gave the game a 9 out of 10. Because I think it deserves it. Because I thought that the open world design didn't D-tier too much because the swinging was so good, the story is well written, well told, and has some actual touching moments. And then it was their first go at Spider-Man, and they pretty much nailed it. It's very similar to on par with Batman Arkham Asylum. Not as good as Arkham City, but better than Arkham Knight. I loved it, man. And it's just another kind of feather in the cap for Sony of just another high quality single player exclusive that is critically acclaimed as an 87 on Metacritic is, but even more so than that, you've seen some of the reports. It sounds like people are buying the game in droves. Like it's the highest selling game in the UK right now for the year, beating out Far Cry 5. It out doubled God of War number in Japan for the same comparable time frame. We're just waiting on North American numbers now, but it seems like after Sony, did amazing with God of War and it was their fastest selling PlayStation exclusive ever. 5 months later, here you are with Spider-Man, and it's going to even do more than that.
They're killing it, man. I tweeted it that Sony are pretty much wiping the floor with Microsoft when it comes to exclusives right now. Some people didn't like that, Rand.
Yeah. I mean, some people don't like that, I guess.
It's true though, isn't it? I'm not just being hyperbolic.
No, I mean, I think it's definitely true.
It's true.
I guess it depends on what type of games that you enjoy. Like, is Microsoft?
One point people were making to me was Sony are underserving people who prefer multiplayer games.
I do see that argument quite a bit. That where are Sony's exclusive multiplayer and co-op games? Usually from the people that Xbox fans say that because Microsoft usually deals in exclusive multiplayer co-op games. Is that a valid argument in your opinion? Like, where is Sony's multiplayer games? Do you think that's an honest criticism of Sony's exclusive output? Or do you think that people are just trying to attack Sony for whatever reason, and that's one area they can attack Sony in?
I think it's smart of Sony to not pursue that market. And I'll tell you why. Is because why compete with Fortnite, Call of Duty, and stuff like that? And why not just try and serve an underserved market? I mean, you literally had, I think it was yesterday or today, a Ubisoft interview where they say we've made Assassin's Creed into an RPG because people don't like cinematic linear games anymore. But then we've just had God of War, which did really well. So like, clearly Sony's serving an underserved market there with the AAA sort of linear-ish games there. Microsoft is bringing that too in some ways with Gears of War, but we get a Gears of War game. The next Gears of War's when? Next year, the earliest. And that's like one game. So Sony's put out a lot of both first party and third party games of that nature. And I don't think they want to tread on Fortnite's toes when it comes to that stuff. And Call of Duty. I mean, I don't know. If I had a PlayStation, I wouldn't be thinking, man, I wish this had more multiplayer games, because I think most people tend to just stick to one multiplayer game at a time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that market's pretty saturated.
Well, shout out to the Ravenflow for the super chat. It says Microsoft's best multiplayer games were purchased. I would assume he means Halo and Gears, because those were both bought. Maybe even Titanfall. But like, I don't know. I've always viewed Sony's like their move away from multiplayer games, because they did do them last gen. They had the Killzone games, they had the Resistance games, they had
massive action game.
Right, like they had plenty of multiplayer games to play, but they transitioned away from that this gen, even though Uncharted has multiplayer. Presumably because they didn't want to, and I've had conversations with people that, you know, insinuated the same thing to me, is that like they decided to build a system where, like with the PlayStation 4, where you know the third parties could shine, and that they wanted to refocus their first parties into doing what they do well, which is tell single player exclusive stories, and they have the studios to do it. So, and like Jez said, nobody's really making these large single player exclusives anymore, except for really Bethesda. And even Bethesda's starting to be like, you know what, we may want to chase after online. You got Fallout 76 coming here soon, right? So it's a market that is underserved, and that Sony's filling very well. I don't know. It's clearly working for them, because they are being rewarded with not only huge console sales, as they've sold the most this generation, but huge sales of their own games. God of War, fastest selling PlayStation exclusive ever. And then you have Spider-Man, which looks like it's even outdo that. But then you still have PlayStation users buying up multiplats as well. So I don't know. I kind of view that whole thing as I don't know. To me, it's not really that much of a valid argument. It's like, because then I could come back and say, well, where's Microsoft's big single player exclusive? You know what I mean? Because there really isn't one. But I don't know. It's just I guess it's just business strategy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I often like I talk to people at Microsoft about this sometimes, and I'm like, maybe the big single player action games aren't necessarily good for business. I mean, games like State of Decay and Sea of Thieves, they are AA games unequivocally, but they all outsold expectations purely because they're multiplayer games and people can persuade their friends to buy them and stuff like that. And you don't really get that same effect to the same extent that you do with a single player game. So maybe, and I said, like, maybe it's bad for business to go for a single player game or put the risk in if you can't make it as good as God of War. Maybe it's bad business decision. But at the same time, I feel like they're leaving people like me behind, you know. So yeah, I like my multiplayer games, but I don't play Microsoft's multiplayer games personally much. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see more content from Microsoft that feels underserved right now, which is those sort of, you know, single player action games, which is so abundant on PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Gears of War 5 is going to have a single player, but it's also going to have multiplayer and co-op. Some people will say that that's worth more than $60 than Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is just single player. You know, Halo's going to have single player. They do their single player games, but they also bundle their single player games with the multiplayer component most of the time. But honestly, I think it's more to do with how critically received like the games are, because you could make a single player game and it could be shit, right?
Yeah.
And nobody really cares. I mean, even look at all the controversy surrounding Tomb Raider this past week, right? And this is something I wanted to talk about: the Metacritic scores and why, and people lose their minds over this stuff. So Tomb Raider on the PlayStation has got a 77, right? And it's got an 83 on Xbox, and it's got an 81 on PC. And yet, all like in the review thread on Reset Era, and even some of the people I follow on Twitter, like, well, Tomb Raider sucks. And I think to myself, how is a game rated at 80? Like, if you just take all those reviews and average them out between the systems, so it's about an 80 or whatever. How is a game that is an 80 out of 100 a bad game and not worth playing? Like,
there's an old 4chan meme where they're like, if anything's below 8.8, it's a bad game.
Right. And it's like, okay, so the Xbox version of Tomb Raider is an 83, Spider-Man's an 87. It's 4 points below it. One of them is like considered an amazing game and potential game of the year, but then a game that's 4 points lower is like trash.
Yeah.
I don't get. Number one, I don't really get. I get the obsession with Metacritic, but I don't like it. Right? I understand why people, they sit there and they make review threads, and then they're like, "Oh my god, I got a 9 out of 10." Okay, oh, we got an 8 out of 10. Oh, it's 7 out of 10. Oh, like people like live and breathe for like, oh, is it going to get an 87? Is it going to get an 89? How about a 91? Like and I'm sitting here, I'm like, Tomb Raider is an 80. And you're telling me that's a bad score, an 8 out of 10. Like, has the modern gaming media destroyed your perception of what the review scale should be? It's like a game's only worth buying if it's 10 to 8 or 10 to 8.5. Anything below that, it's garbage, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, there's this sense of like, if the game's not a 90, it's not worth playing. And if you even look on Metacritic, this gen, I think I've said this before on this podcast. But I honestly believe reviewers are harsher this gen than they were last gen. That there are games that have come out this gen that would be 90s if they had come out last gen.
Do you know why that is?
Because most game reviewers are cynical, or most games we're getting now are just sequels and iterations upon games that started last generation?
Nope. It's because it's the social media effect. It's the Facebook effect. It's the like or dislike. Everything has to be all or nothing now. You have to be right or left. You can't be in the middle. You have to be right or left, or else you're evil to someone. So, like, I think what you're seeing is the effect, the YouTube effect, the algorithmic effect, where like it's more beneficial to take a stark position on a topic than it is to sort of
ride the middle, ride the line, like be neutral.
Yeah, ride the line, or sort of, play it safe. It's more beneficial to do that from an algorithmic, a clickbait point of view, and all that sort of stuff. And I've seen it myself, and I'm not saying I do this for clicks, because I don't need clicks because I've got a salary, but it's kind of like I see this when sometimes I've played a game and I haven't liked it that much, and I've given it a negative score. If most other reviewers have given it a positive score and I've given it a negative one, my review will get way more hits. And I've been like, huh? Why is that happening? And it's because people like, it's the controversy behind the idea of that you're breaking the status quo.
How you say that word. I love it.
It's true. It's the how do you say it? Controversy?
Yeah, controversy. But you can say it all day with the way you say how do you say
controversy?
Controversy. Like, yeah. Controversy.
I don't know where I picked that up from. I don't know. I don't even think it's an accent thing. I think because you get British people who say it the way you say it too. I don't know. But yeah, I think reviewers probably are harsher this gen overall.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a symptom of like what I see on YouTube. Like everything's dead or dying, right? You have those channels that are like, this game sucks. This game is about to die. Call of Duty didn't die. It was murdered. Sea of Thieves didn't just die. It was murdered, right? Or this game sucks and that game sucks. There's really, I don't know, people, maybe they just gravitate more towards negative news than they do to positive news.
I feel bad. I feel bad in a way, and I don't blame the YouTubers for it. I blame social media platforms like YouTube and Facebook that prioritize things that are simple and easy to digest, like a yes or no answer. They don't like more complicated things. The algorithms don't like more complicated things because it's got less mass market appeal, you know. And it's you see this stuff all the time working in this industry, and it is annoying.
It is.
There's literally nothing that can be done about it. I don't know.
So,
I agonize over this, you know. I agonize over this. I literally, sorry, because I'm like at least partially responsible for our Xbox coverage. I'm less responsible now than I used to be, but we've actually got a professional in charge now. But I do think about quite often how can we make better reviews systems, or how can we like better serve people and not just cater to because the way games are reviewed has barely changed in like 10 years or whatever. And I always think like there's got to be a better way, you know. There's got to be a better way that's not just good for consumers and customers, but also for the industry, for developers, and also just less toxic, you know. So I do think about this stuff, and if anyone's got any ideas on how to achieve this, let me know. Because like I said like I did a poll, and it was like should game sites get rid of game review scores, and it was like 60. It was a 60% said yes, but 40% said no. So like it's still a huge amount of people still see the value in review scores.
right, and I even saw people say the reason you brought that up was because you're trying to damage control Xbox games because they get bad review scores, so that you want review scores to go away, so none of the Xbox games get a 68 anymore.
Why would I give a shit, man? For fuck's sake.
I still think there's value in review scores, of course. I mean, look, video games are expensive. It's $60. That's a lot of money. And people they flock to reviewers. Maybe they agree with them. They find a reviewer that mirrors their taste, and it's like, hey, is this game worth playing? Should I wait? And then someone basically says, here's my experience with the game. Here's what I recommend. And you have all these different aggregate websites like Metacritic and OpenCritic, Rotten Tomatoes that will be like, hey, the majority of people think this game is worth playing and worth getting. The majority of people think this game isn't worth your time. So then people will be like, oh, okay. Now, for me, I make up my own mind on stuff. I'll play a game regardless. Like, I saw the Tomb Raider scores, but I didn't read any of the reviews. I don't need to read anybody else's review. Number one, I would have bought in Tomb Raider even if it was a 50 on Metacritic because it was a game that I wanted to play, right? Same thing with Spider-Man and same things with God of War. But then again, I'm in a situation where, I don't know, like YouTube, I mean, like, because of everybody's support here watching the videos and stuff, like, I basically buy the video games with some extra money I get from making YouTube videos. But I don't know. Like I understand why reviewers are needed, and there's like a push for them to get people to get reviewers out of here, like no more. But I don't know. I just the obsession with the review scores is something that I don't agree with. Like, oh my god, like this game was a 9, but now it's an 89. Now it's no good. You know what I mean? Like, it's an 88 now. Yeah, like, oh my god, let's give death threats to these people who, Jeff Gertzman or Jim Sterling, who rated this game lower, right? Like, it's the obsession with that.
What was Jim Sterling gave a bad review to some Nintendo game. I can't remember what it was, but his website got like hacked and DDoS and stuff.
I think it was like Zelda or something.
Yeah, it was a Zelda game. Like, he didn't like a Zelda game.
Yeah, those Nintendo people, when it comes to reviews, they can be a little fanatical. Like they I think Gertzman gave it wasn't Breath of the Wild, maybe it was Wind Waker a 7, and they went absolutely nuts. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's I don't know, like review scores are a subjective thing, but some people just stake everything on it. Like, I mean, just look at how the discussions turned from Xbox games are shit because they're rated low on Metacritic versus like Sony's games are the second coming of Christ because they're rated high, right? But these are usually coming from people who haven't played it. So it's just like, State of Decay 2 is a 67 on Metacritic. It means it's garbage. Have you played it? No. Okay. God of War is amazing. It's a 94. Have you played it? No. Like, okay. I don't know, man. But moving on, I wanted to get your I wanted to get your opinion on this, and someone just brought it up in chat. Frummy Funnies, but Doctor Disrespect had his house shot up twice in
Oh
2 days.
my
Jazz.
god! Yeah, I heard about that.
That is pretty
That is
scary, wouldn't you say?
nuts. It's crazy.
Like,
Absolutely crazy.
I don't know, man. Like, I worry. Not like me personally. Like, I don't worry about anybody ever coming up to my house, you know, right, and being like, "Rand, you gave Forza Horizon 5 a bad review," shoot you, right? But like,
I don't worry about that because I don't live in America.
right? Well, you know, that is part of that. But the streaming culture where guys like Doctor Disrespect and guys like Shroud and guys like Ninja and guys like Tim the Tatman, like who are basically celebrities because they stream their gameplay, and yeah, it's probably relatively easy to find out where they live. But then like to have a crazy person drive by your house and like shoot up your house when you have a kid and a wife there.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Oh my god. You're like, I'm a bachelor, you know? Like I live by myself for the most part. I don't have a girlfriend, you know, ladies out there, if you want to say hi to Rand, you know, my DMs are always open, you know? So
Sliding
like
to Rand's DMs.
yeah, so it's just me, you know, like I couldn't imagine like the feeling of helplessness or whatever, like if it was somebody who like wants to do that, like who watches you all the time but hates what you do so much, where he's like, someone's like wants to kill you over it, dude. I don't. It's so
The thing
fucked
is,
up,
it's
man.
it's not exclusive to gaming. I remember like, I mean, you get this with all types of celebrities, right? Like, I remember this. There was this one stalker when I was a kid who was prominent in the news, stalking Bjork, that singer and stuff.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
yeah. It's just the new celebrities. Streamers are like a new type of celebrity, and people say like, "Oh man, I can't believe this is happening in the gaming community." It's not just the gaming community anymore. It's the entertainment industry, and stalkers are just a reality of entertainment industry.
Yeah, but I don't know. But then you also hear people say like, "Do you think it was a ruse? Do you think he's doing it on purpose to get more traffic to his channel?"
Oh,
and it's like, oh, like I understand Doctor Disrespect plays a character, right, on his stream. But man, the way he came off, he was not in character. He was really pissed off. The police said something happened, so I was like, I don't know. But it's just that and even because this even goes a little bit further than that. Like, remember how much shit Ninja got for saying that he didn't want to play with women streamers because he values his marriage? And like people are dissecting what the dude says for a decision he made on his own. And it's just like
reaching out to psychologists to get their opinion.
It's like the dude streams video games for a living. Like, he shouldn't be a role model to anybody, really. Like, your role model should be like your parents or maybe like, you know, firefighter. Like, he plays video games, and yes, he's very good at Fortnite. But why are we discussing in length about who and what he chooses to stream with? I don't know, this infatuation, this celebrification or whatever of like streaming culture is just weird. And you know, I'm not one to say like, hey, do what you want with your money, but then I'll see guys, very lonely guys, who clearly have tons of money and extra time, go into what they would call Twitch Thoughts channels and just see a girl who streams Just Dance and a low cut top and shorts just dancing and just throw their money at them. I'm like, hey, I don't judge. It's your money. You can do whatever you want. But streaming culture has really taken on a weird turn. Wouldn't you agree?
The internet is still like, it's still this like organic thing that's evolving, and nobody really understands fully the impact of the internet. I mean, we're getting seriously philosophical for a gaming podcast right now, but nobody really understands the full impact that the internet's had on human society. We're still getting to grips with what it means. Like, nothing is true anymore. You know, nothing is true anymore because if you get enough people screaming about it on YouTube, on Facebook and on Reddit and stuff, then you can make anything true, you know? And it just feels like when people are debating things on the internet now, it's less about the facts and more about how can I make my truth the only truth kind of thing now. it's so strange the way all this stuff is going down, and I don't think we've seen the last of weird stuff happening on the internet.
No, I definitely don't think so.
I kind of feel like, I mean, like the current political landscape, like you got Trump and you got Brexit and stuff. That those things are really like, and you know, stuff in like other countries too, especially some of the developing nations, and all this stuff is internet age ripping up the rule book that we you know previously obsessed over, and it's affecting the gaming industry too. Like I asked I talked to people at PR firms and marketing firms for gaming, and I was like, you know, how do you market games in the post-truth age? You know, because like nowadays you can sort of like you can market a game in such a way where the reviews don't even have to matter so much, or like you know you can get away with manipulating the truth. And I don't know if you've seen this stuff about NBA 2K.
Yeah.
Is it basketball, where like they gave reviewers a different version of the game to what went live, and
Mm-hmm.
the live version of the game is actually like this horrific pay to win nightmare, but reviewers didn't see that version of the game.
Yeah, because they gave
They
them
saw
all the money, and even okay, that's a good segue to a topic I did want to discuss was the
You didn't want
Belgium
to discuss.
stuff. No, I did the Belgium stuff. How Belgium
Right,
made it
yeah.
a law that loot boxes are gambling, and 2K they complied by removing it, right? But 2K is still encouraging players or gamers in Belgium to write their government and say we want loot boxes back. But then EA was like, "Screw you! Our shit's not gambling. We're not doing it." And like I've seen some articles and some videos where like they could potentially face jail time. Is loot boxes that important? I don't know.
Companies don't face jail time; they just get a fine.
Okay, fine, but either way, like, don't you think it's weird, but kind of really screwed up that you have 2K directly addressing their gamers in that country and saying, please, 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 write to your government officials and say you want these loot boxes because we need them in our game because it's a modern, what they say, it's a modern necessity in game development. Please, please, please do that. Like,
The thing is, right? I think like, and a lot of the time as well, the internet age hasn't just sort of like allowed people to lie with impunity. I think people have gotten more used to lying to themselves with impunity as well. And I often feel like a lot of these game companies, they genuinely believe loot boxes are a good thing. And like when you talk to them about loot boxes, they'll say, "Oh, we're just giving our customers options they want." And it's their interpretation is, yeah, people are buying these, so lots of people want them. That's their interpretation of it. And it's hardly an erroneous interpretation. If absolutely nobody was buying loot boxes, they wouldn't be in the games. So like in their mind, they are sort of providing people with options, and they can convince themselves that loot boxes are a good thing because of that. And I don't think people at EA wake up every morning and think, how can I be evil today? I think they're just genuinely delusional. Yeah, putting it as nicely as I can. I think they've seriously just lost the plot, some of them.
yeah, but I just find it funny and sad that 2K is like on their hands and knees begging gamers to write to their politicians, being
This
like,
is
"We want
2K.
loot."
They're about to make they're on GTA Online, for God's sake.
Yes, they do. But you know, the thing is, it's like the scene from the Social Network. You know what's better than $1 million? How about $1 billion? Right? It's never enough money for any of these corporations.
Yeah.
It's like they see and they're like, we made $500 million in loot box earnings last quarter. That's not enough. Let's get $1 billion for next quarter, and then that's not enough. We need $2 billion.
We're getting philosophical again here, because the problem with that, Rand, that's just capitalism, baby.
True.
It's like capitalism demands perpetual growth, which obviously is impossible.
But then again, you just mentioned the loot boxes in 2K are designed in such a way, and the game's designed in such a way that you kind of need to buy them in order to progress. That even though you just bought a $60 game, one of the modes in it is very much just like, hey, you need VC, and like the quest for more money has affected, you know, the structure of a single player campaign. You know what I mean? That's always been my worry, is that people buy these loot boxes so much and microtransactions that it starts to impact the single player portion of the thing, and they make it harder, they make it more drawn out, they make you grind more, and then it starts affecting my experience. Because I mean, quite frankly, I don't care about Overwatch loot boxes. I don't care that you got a skin that I don't have. But then again, I don't care about cosmetics. Someone else may be like, I need to have that, and then go bankrupt. You're buying that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's crazy stuff, man. Like, I never thought we'd see the day where a publisher would be begging their customers to write to a. Can you imagine if the United States government outlawed loot boxes?
Won't happen.
I'm just, of course, not gonna happen. But I'm just saying, could you imagine the fallout? Would all these companies be begging us, please? Would EA be sponsoring, and I use sponsoring in quotes, would EA be sponsoring YouTubers to make videos? You know, having them call to action.
Don't give them ideas.
Hey, here's the thing. Here's a dirty little secret about YouTube, guys. And I'm a small YouTuber, right? I get emails daily about sponsorship opportunities that these companies will pay me if I do something or say something they like in my videos. I never have. I've never taken a sponsorship opportunity.
Yo, where's my sponsorship opportunities, guys?
I thought you said you got a sponsorship opportunity.
Did I? When?
Could have sworn you said you did.
I probably have. At some
but
point.
I get them all the time. My inbox is full
I don't get
of
them all
stuff.
the time.
And my channel's small.
Oh, actually, I did get one recently. Yeah. I got, but not for a game. I got one for a set of headphones from some no-brand company.
Right. So I get all these different types of sponsorships all the time. But can you imagine what somebody like PewDiePie gets, or Markiplier, or anybody with like a huge gaming channel? I couldn't even imagine the opportunities. But it wouldn't be that far from the truth for, like EA or Activision to sponsor a video from a YouTuber, and it'd be like, hey, maybe if you feel this way, you want loot boxes, you could go to tell your, like, I could just see it happening, and they wouldn't even know. I mean, they're supposed to disclose it, but not everybody always does. I don't know. It's a kind of a weird thing, but yeah, since we were on the topic of 2K, Jez, did you read what the CEO said today? And this is going to tie into Xbox 2 and PlayStation 5. So you didn't read what he had to say.
No.
He said that streaming and subscriptions won't be game changers. Now, we talked about the Xbox 2 previously, and we talked about how potentially, like the Xbox Scarlett streaming device, if it was priced appropriately, if it had all your games on it, if it was like $100, that it could essentially disrupt the market, because now you have this like mass market device, and if it works well, maybe you can get all these casuals to buy into your system right away, right? That's always, it was a potential thing that we had discussed. Remember, Jez?
Yes.
So he says he doesn't think so. And he also even talked about like crossplay. He says, eventually I think we'll be in a cross-platform world for a lot of titles. Certainly between console and PC we will. Microsoft is basically already there, so he thinks the walls are coming down, and the streaming is going to accelerate those walls coming down. But he goes on to say, we're all here for the consumers. If you're going to create rules that don't benefit the consumers, but somehow you think benefits your enterprise, you're mistaken. Consumers will go elsewhere. You have to pay attention to what the consumer wants. He talks about how he sees streaming happening, and it'll happen within 1 to 3 years. He thinks it'll increase the total addressable market. He says naturally it does, because you don't need to buy a box in order to play your games. But he goes, as for the subscription model, he says, I don't think the answer is for each company, for each title has a subscription business, and that's transformative. I'm not even sure the subscription model applies to our business. It certainly doesn't apply to our frontline products. Could it apply to catalog products? Yeah, probably could. Would it? Sure. Would we participate in businesses like that? Yes. Will we have one of our own? Probably not. But the interesting thing here was that he says none of these are game changers. So presumably Xbox Game Pass, whatever PlayStation does in the future, and whatever Xbox Scarlett streaming device is like that, I thought and just thought could potentially be something that helps out. He goes to say that none of it is a game changer, and you want to know why? Because if there's an opportunity to go direct to a consumer, no one can go to direct to a consumer with our products. Only we can. We have the opposite of fungible products in this business. So if we're asleep at the switch, and I certainly hope we don't come across that way, but if we were, and all of our competitors go develop direct relationships, as long as we keep making titles that are as good as Grand Theft Auto and NBA 2K and others, we'll have a direct relationship like that as well. Worst case scenario, we'll be a few months behind our competitors because we're too sleepy to do it. So there's no competitive advantage to be gained in distribution when you're in the content business. It does not exist. It's not a meaningful long-term competitive advantage to control distribution of any sort. Therefore, arguing about whether subscription exists or how you take advantage of it, it's all kind of irrelevant because it's going to be or won't be a rising tide that will affect all of us. And if it is, great, wonderful, we'll all be there. And if it isn't, it's not going to change a damn thing. So I don't know. Like, here we are, CEO of Take-Two, and he's already basically said like subscriptions and that stuff aren't going to be a game changer for anybody.
I think like Microsoft themselves have talked about this, and Microsoft has always said, they've always said that subscriptions will exist alongside that stuff and be an option for some people. But like, it's like with UWP, they've always said, they've never said UWP will replace Win32. They've never said game streaming will replace regular local games. It's just all going to be an option. So like, the thing is, he's answering a question that nobody's asked. Does anyone actually think that they're going to completely do away with that stuff? If they have, I've never heard it.
Yeah, I mean, there were some people that thought when when the leak started of the Switch or the Scarlett console streaming device, that suddenly that was the focus, and now they weren't making a traditional console, right? And that subscriptions would be the way everything would be in the future, even though like Microsoft said that wasn't the case. And I don't know, he basically says like it's going to help everybody. It's not going to help us. Like, that's what I got out of it. He's like, and that's kind of the way like Microsoft kind of feels right now, especially with Mixer. And like a rising tide, raises all boats. That more people watch Twitch, and just from like a side effect, more people will watch Mixer as well. That because more people are just viewing things. Game streaming, that just from Microsoft being there with Mixer, more people will discover it, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. But I don't know. I thought that was interesting because he doesn't think it's going to be that big of a deal, and maybe it won't. Maybe he's right. Maybe Microsoft and Sony come out with cheap streaming devices and nobody wants them.
And yeah, I mean, it could be VR all over again.
Yeah, and maybe
VR hasn't taken off and changed the way people game. But it still exists as an option, and I feel like that's what streaming devices could be. Until streaming devices are the most convenient option by far, I don't think it's going to have a disruptive effect. I mean, Spotify has had a disruptive effect on music industry, right? But yes. It's weird. Next month, it's had some unexpected disruption too. Like next month, there's a consortium meeting in America to discuss upgrading the manufacturing process for vinyl records, because vinyl records have grown in popularity by 1,500% in the last 10 years. So, like, who'd have thought that Spotify would somehow precede a revival in vinyl? You wouldn't have expected that. I think there will be that market for like people who want to collect things, they want the physical version, they want the collector's edition and stuff like that. I think that market will always be there. I don't think we're all going to go to a subscription-based model. And I saw something recently that just sort of really slam this home, there was this thing going viral on Twitter where Apple pulled 2 movies from someone's library, from their iTunes library. And Apple was like, "Oh yeah, sorry, those movies are we no longer have the license to sell those movies. So here's 2 free rentals on us." So that person lost like a bunch of movies. It wasn't like a lot of money, like a few dozen dollars maybe or something, but they lost access to 2 movies or something. And then Apple's response was to offer them a couple of rentals, and rather than a refund. So like, and then Apple says like, if you look at Apple's terms and conditions, they always say like they're a storefront. They're not selling you the movie. They're selling you permanent access to the movie as long as it's on their storefront. And it's the same. It's the same with digital games, honestly. I mean, I have a lot of digital games, and like the good thing about Microsoft is they're not in a position where they could get away with just revoking someone's access. They would have to refund you because, I don't like. Whereas Apple can get away with treating its customers like crap, and Microsoft can't. So I think there's at least that, but that's the thing. Physical does things that digital doesn't, and physical still has like the lion's share of retail eyeballs. Like retail is still really important to distribute your products. It's like people always say, why doesn't Microsoft cut out the middleman and just sell things on the Microsoft store and just sell Xbox through its website and stuff? They need to have that stuff in stores because it's advertising, and so I agree that I don't think streaming is going to be a huge revolution, at least not in the short term. But
yeah, I also wonder.
Nobody said that, I don't think.
No, I mean, well, none of them have really even talked about it. Like Microsoft hasn't even really confirmed it. Other than that, they're like, "Hey, we're working on console quality AAA gaming to your phone." It's just kind of like rumors and speculation. But I don't know. I'm not even sure. Like,
wait, what? What did you say there?
Like the whole nobody's obviously officially confirmed a streaming box device, right?
Oh,
Microsoft or Sony. It's just leaks and rumors, right?
Yeah.
But Microsoft has said that they're working on trying to be able to stream console quality games to your phone.
Yes.
But I'm not even sure anybody even wants that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's a bunch of users on the phone, billions and billions of them. But does anybody want to play Rise of Shadow of the Tomb Raider on their phone? I don't think so. Do you? I mean, maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe there's a huge audience of people on the phone that are just like, man, if I could only play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I would love to play it on my...
The reason they're looking at games like Fortnite, which are, huge on phone, and games like... Actually, it's more like this. They're not really looking at the Western markets when it comes to this stuff. They're looking at Japan,
more for the Eastern markets, then.
Japan and China, where like mobile gaming is like huge in those countries, and like the biggest games there are on phones, not on consoles. Like Tencent's I can't remember what it's called now. Like their League of Legends MOBA type game is absolutely massive on phones. I can't even remember what it's called because it's nobody knows about it here, or at least not as many as know about it over there. But I think like it could have a bigger impact in those markets than it does in the West. But they need to nail the execution, because I think as well they're looking at systems like the Switch, and they're thinking like people like this because of the portability factor, and I think that is a factor. But a lot of the people I know never undock the thing, and they like it just because it's Nintendo and it has Nintendo IP on it.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that inaccurate? I mean, how many people here actually use their Switch regularly, disconnected from the TV?
I'm sure there's a lot of people that actually do. But I mean, like,
can Microsoft emulate that with phones?
I don't know. I think the Switch appeals to Nintendo users and users who like want that experience on the go. So, like, I don't think those users are mobile users. I think there's a clear difference between a mobile user and a Switch user, though. You know what I mean? Like the console streaming to your like phone it would be great, but like is and maybe you're right. Maybe it's just for specific games, but I see the idea of like, hey, I can play Shadow of the Tomb Raider on my iPhone X. Like, what do I want to? Like, what's preventing me from playing it on my TV? And is like the people on mobile phone, and that's a huge market, right? 2 billion Androids and whatever like, are any of those people going to be interested in doing it? Like, that's kind of the thing I question. It's like, they want to clearly go after those people, but does any of those people even want that? You know
It's
what I
stuff
mean?
like they're looking at games like Fortnite too, which have been absolutely huge on phone inexplicably, even though it's got crossplay and stuff. I don't know. There is a market obviously to be tapped into it. The execution needs to be really good. They need to like nail the controls and stuff like that because I don't know. People play Fortnite with touch controls, so maybe
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
but here's the other thing: Fortnite's free. Shadow of the Tomb Raider ain't free. Neither
Oh,
is
yeah.
Gears of War 5 or any of these other games we're talking about. Like the phone, like
Yeah, good
people
point.
use the phone because those they're on your all the time. You need them to text and call people, and the games on there are cheap as hell, right? Like they're either free with in-app purchases or maybe they cost $1 or $2.
What
Now
if
maybe
Xbox streaming pass or whatever they call it? What if that's really cheap too, like the cost of a premium mobile game per month or something?
I don't know,
Like,
but then you're already setting up barriers to people you want to reach on the phone. A streaming pass? Like, okay, so now you want to stream to your phone, but you're gonna have to pay $10 a month. I don't know that shit. I think
I
that stuff.
do it. That's always what I expected. I've always expected that it's gonna have a separate subscription,
Well, I mean, I guess
right?
that's possible.
Or
I
no?
always thought it was just going to be more extension of Xbox Play Anywhere.
Oh no, 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 no,
You know
no,
what I mean? Probably
no, no,
not.
no, no, no.
But if that's the
It's that
case,
that is gonna have a fee attached to it because streaming a game from your console costs service, and that is expensive.
well, look, I just don't see a scenario where like so Gears of War 5 comes out, right? Let's say Gears of War 5 is the first game that does that. And you can get the PC version at no extra cost because it's Xbox Play Anywhere. But if you want to stream it to your phone, you gotta pay a streaming fee. I just can't imagine that working well. Because I can't
Yeah,
imagine the market for people wanting to play Gears of War 5 on their phone is a large one. Yeah, I would imagine it's a very small one. Because I don't know, I'm of the opinion that mobile gamers and console gamers are two separate groups and they like separate things. They like different types of games.
maybe.
The demographic that likes Gears of War wants to play it on a huge 4K television and wants to be wired and not streaming because they want to play multiplayer. And you know what I mean? Like those aren't mobile gamers. I don't know. I guess we'd have to wait and
Maybe.
see on Microsoft's and Sony's approach on all this, right? Um, but did you see that AMD basically confirmed they're working with Microsoft and Sony for next gen consoles though?
Yeah,
And
not
that they're
shocked.
they're helping them work on secret sauce?
Secret sauce.
Yeah, they said it in the
Mm.
interview that they're helping them build their secret sauce on both
I
their
really like
consoles.
secret sauce.
So what do you think the secret sauce is, Jez?
I think
Basil?
it's low end Ryzen chips.
Low end Ryzen chips.
That's the secret sauce, baby.
Secret sauce.
Last year's PC chips. That's the secret sauce. Nah, I don't know. Um, I'm not like. I mean, PC hardware is always ahead, isn't it? They use AMD because the chips are cheaper than Nvidia, and that's just the way it is, and the way it always will be.
Isn't always the way it
I don't
will
think we
be.
can read too much into it right now.
No, I mean I watched the interview and there's really not much there. It's just it makes for a good headline. Xbox Scarlett secret sauce, PS5 secret sauce. They didn't really say
I think
anything.
even we wrote that. Let me have a look.
I mean, obviously, there's no other information other than hey, AMD's working with Microsoft and Sony. Big surprise, everybody. Like shocker. Like AMD's
Yeah, we
working
wrote
with
that.
them. Yeah, so I don't know what the secret
Slow
sauce
news,
is.
Secret sauce. I don't know. I don't know.
New CPUs is a secret sauce. That's what these consoles need. They need a brand new CPU. Is what they need. Because these Jaguars are holding everything back. God, next gen's gonna be so good if they can get rid of these CPUs. But yeah. So the secret sauce stuff, I thought that was kind of like I watched the whole 10-minute video and she literally talked about it for 5 seconds. secret sauce, Xbox and
Sauce.
PlayStation. It's like, oh, geez, okay, we got the secret sauce. Just like remember the secret sauce Xbox was supposed to have this gen. Do you remember that at all? Like
That rumor.
The rumor that Microsoft had like an extra GPU in there or something, or that
was my favorite rumor.
Or like the press of a button, there would suddenly be 4 more teraflops in the Xbox One. Or remember
that was my favorite.
Was it? What was the exact rumor? Do you remember?
No, it was something like. I feel really bad for the guy who spread that rumor. Actually, someone had tricked this guy on Twitter into thinking that the Xbox had some sort of extra hardware that required Windows 10 updates to work, and they were convinced that after this specific Windows 10 update, the update would take on Xbox, and then suddenly the Xbox would be like way more powerful than PS4, the base Xbox, that is. And obviously, it wasn't true.
Clearly, I remember being playing Halo with Phil when those rumors came out, and I said that to him. I'm like, so what about that extra GPU in the system? And he started laughing. He's like, I don't believe anything you're reading on the internet. And he's like, and why would we put something in there that only could be, activated 4 years later?
It's funny. I've heard that there is actually something in the Xbox that they're not using.
Huh? Just like how we don't use our appendix.
Yeah. Apparently, the wireless card in the Xbox supports Bluetooth, but it's just disabled.
Interesting.
Apparently. I don't know how true that is, but...
So, Jez, Battle Royale. Huge genre. You love PUBG almost as much as I do, right? Oh, I forgot. You love Fortnite. You don't like Battle Royale, do you?
No. Not really. I'm too impatient.
Yeah, that can kind of be a killer there. But Call of Duty, they have their beta going on for Blackout, which is their version of Battle Royale, right? It was exclusive to PlayStation 4 for 4 days. I hate the fact that betas are exclusive to companies. I hated it when Microsoft did it. I hate it when Sony does it. The fact that Fallout 76 has an exclusive beta first on Xbox. I hate these things. Like, you really paid for exclusive beta rights? Like, really? Really? God. But okay, so it's been on PlayStation since the Monday, I believe. It's finally hitting Xbox tomorrow. I actually got a chance to play it. And you know me, I'm a PUBG fanatic, even though I said PUBG is basically a mild quarter pounder for McDonald's. The only reason you play it is because it's a time waster and it's, whatever. But, dude, I think PUBG might be in some serious trouble, Jez. I honestly think Blackout's going to eat its lunch.
Yeah, I don't think Blackout might not share a huge amount of crossover with Fortnite because of the tone, but if Blackout's like an optimized version of PUBG...
I mean, it pretty much is.
I mean, I always laughed at the idea of Call of Duty Battle Royale because Call of Duty is often cut corners on its networking infrastructure. I went back and played Call of Duty recently, World War II, and I just couldn't stand it because it was like I was getting killed before I saw the enemy, and then his kill cam looked completely different to what I saw in my game because of the latency between me and the host. I don't know. Maybe I've got a bad internet connection or whatever, but I never experienced that on Battlefield. On Battlefield, what you see is what you get. On Call of Duty, there's this client-host lag, which I just hate.
Well, I think they're using dedicated servers for this one. They start you out with 80 people. They upped it to 88. I do think they need to have more people because while the beginning of the rounds are very fast-paced, a lot of action going on, the later circles can be a little bit boring because everybody dies right away, right? But here's the thing. So it's Call of Duty. I mean, it's Call of Duty's gunplay. On a decently sized map. It's not like as big as, say, PUBG's, but it runs extremely well. I mean, you're talking about 60 frames here. A AAA developer doing Battle Royale justice. and kind of going after PUBG's core deficiencies, which are the gunplay. Like Call of Duty obviously has nailed gunplay since 2007, 2006, right? They're the kings of it. So it's just as good here, but more so than that, it runs extremely well. It doesn't have the issues that PUBG has on Xbox, and doesn't have the issues that PUBG has on the PC. And I already can see it from the big streamers and everybody being like, "This is going to be my next game." And with Call of Duty already, on track to sell millions and millions and millions and millions of units, as they always does, dude, PUBG might be, on the outlook and looking in, because it's like, why would I play an inferior version of a mode when I have a superior version right here? And meaning Blackout. Like Blackout is basically PUBG if PUBG was.
Is it third person?
No, it's first person.
See, I as much as I rail on Call of Duty for its crappy networking, I really love Call of Duty's gunplay, and I always have.
Then you'll love this. You love this, like, because if you love their gunplay, then it's basically Call of Duty, but just battle royale, obviously.
That's why, like, I moved to Titanfall because it was like the most Call of Duty feeling game that still had dedicated servers, and I really like Titanfall, but everyone sort of moved on from that really quick. I don't know what it is about Titanfall that it just doesn't stick.
Maybe the Titans.
The Titan play was really messy in the new one, I think. But that's a whole nother discussion. I didn't try Blackout purely on the basis that I had no faith in the networking infrastructure. But if you're saying it's good,
no, yeah, I mean on PlayStation it worked. I mean you had a couple scenarios drop, but I thought it held up well. And obviously it comes to Xbox tomorrow, so you can try it for yourself. But if you're telling me that you like Call of Duty's gunplay, well, then you're gonna like this. I mean, you drop in, you pick where you want to go, you open up the doors, you pick up the weapons, and it's basically Call of Duty. You're just playing a Call of Duty on a big map, and where you have one life.
It's really funny, by the way. World of Warcraft has a new battleground where you parachute into the map and choose where to go.
Right. So, Buddy Boy says that on Twitch right now, PUBG is at 20,000 viewers and Blackout's at 70,000.
Yeah, I saw that for the first time in years, Call of Duty is ahead of Battlefield on Twitch, because usually Battlefield's higher on Twitch than Call of Duty, even though Call of Duty is still more popular. But this is the first time that Call of Duty is beating, like, actually doing well now. But we always have to remember that Sea of Thieves was number 1 too during its beta.
Right. That's true. Sea of Thieves was number 1 as well. But Battle Royale is a genre that dominates on Twitch, though. Fortnite and PUBG. And now you have a competitor that I think is going. I think PUBG. I see this is a little bit hyperbolic, but I think PUBG's audience is about to severely get slashed and decline. Like I think Fortnite's fine just because of like the cartooniness of it and who it appeals to, like 12-year-olds, and it's free on every platform. But honestly, like I look at this and I'm like, dude, PUBG's got some serious problems. Especially when like your spokespeople, even though they're not official spokespeople, when you have your main dudes like Shroud and Dr. Disrespect and all these guys playing Blackout over PUBG, like those PC numbers are going to go down, and it's going to continue to plummet.
Oh, and get this. I've just read there's no information on the networking infrastructure for the console version, but the PC version does use dedicated servers, and it's also exclusive to Battle.net.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll probably get on PC.
And the more I think about it, it's like, man, PUBG. Look, but don't cry for Bluehole. They sold 50 million copies. 55 million. Like they sold what? Like 9 million players on Xbox, 50 million on PC. They're one of the biggest success stories of this generation, maybe in all of gaming ever. Right? They'll be fine. Don't cry for them. But they've literally had over a year to fix their game, improve their game. On Xbox, they had 9 months to. They knew this day would happen. They knew that eventually these AAA developers and publishers would want a taste of that money. And here you go, Call of Duty coming in. And it works great. The gunplay's great. The frame rate, Jess. The frame rate. It's there at 60 frames. right? And then next up, you're going to have Battlefield, who's doing their, was it Firestorm? Presumably next year. And all these, yeah, they don't. I don't think they'll affect Fortnite. But why would you play PUBG when you have these other ones that are just better, that have better gunplay and better network infrastructure, and
I'll give it a go, man. You've convinced me, Rand.
Play it with Roby. I'm sure Roby can throw you some extra codes.
Roby's a COD fan, I think. I actually really enjoyed World War II, Call of Duty, but it's just that lag, man. I just couldn't get over that lag. After when you play Battlefield and Overwatch, which have really good networking, or at least decent networking, like I just can't play Call of Duty. It's just like, what is this trash lag game? And it's offensive because Activision is such a huge, rich company, and they cheap out on their fans by giving them crappy networking infrastructure. There's no reason they have to do that.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was just my first thought playing it. I'm like, oh my god, PUBG's got some competition. They might be screwed. And then even when you think about it, like, eventually they want to put PUBG on PlayStation, right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
too late.
Some people say like, oh, they made the deal with Microsoft. Obviously, maybe didn't work out well in hindsight, but I'm not really sure. I actually I think that worked out well for them because they always said that they didn't have the manpower to make the console versions, right? And that the deal with Microsoft actually allowed them to make the console versions. So maybe there would be no console versions of PUBG if it wasn't for Microsoft and money. But like, I think of like, okay, if you're coming out on PlayStation next year, like you don't really stand a chance anymore. Like, yeah, on Xbox it was fine, even though there was Fortnite. Like, that was it. You had Fortnite and you had PUBG, right? And PUBG benefited from the marketing that Microsoft did. I mean, you could argue, and maybe you'll agree with this, that last year PUBG was Xbox's biggest game.
Oh yeah, right?
Clearly, it might even be their biggest game this year. Well, no, Forza Horizon 4 will be bigger than that, and PUBG is bigger than Sea of Thieves on Xbox and Sea of Thieves. So PUBG, in basically, a year or from all of last year and most of this year, was Xbox's biggest game, even though it was on PC. It was their biggest game, and it thrived because there wasn't really any competition for it. You had Fortnite, but that was it. But when you go to PlayStation, you have Fortnite, you have H1Z1, you're going to have Call of Duty Blackout, you're eventually going to have Battlefield 5. Like, they might be screwed. Like, people might not even buy the game on PlayStation unless it was fixed, because I don't know, with how bad the Xbox version is. Like, yeah, it's better, way better than was when it launched, but there's still some inexcusable frame rate drops in combat, when you aim down scopes and things like that. Like, I don't know if it just launches in the same state it launches in PlayStation when you have a version that's like basically 100% done in Call of Duty. It's like, I don't think people are gonna be like, yeah, whatever. Like, who cares? Like, there's only enough room for so many versions of Battle Royale, and sorry, like that quote is filled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the Battlefields isn't coming out for ages, right?
Well, they said it'll come out later. I don't think it's coming out this year, so it'll be come out next year. That's just another misfire by the Battlefield folks.
But like, EA is I don't know what's going on with EA recently. I mean, they have dropped the ball repeatedly the last couple of years on their major games. They've got like Battlefield with this sort of staggered release where parts of the game that were advertised are coming out later. And then you've got like Star Wars Battlefront 2, which was advertised as being like a service-driven game with loads of content updates later on. It's basically dead. If you go into the Battlefront subreddit, my God, I've never seen so many people clinging to hope that EA is going to bring more stuff to the game. And like, they are supposedly bringing out a bunch of stuff to the game, but their content plans for Battlefront 2 went out the window after announcement. So like, EA seems to have this like staggering inability to follow through with their service-driven plans. And I think like when you're trying to be that service type company, your reputation is really important. And I think like, when like Black Ops is on BattleNet and tied to the Blizzard name, which obviously I think Blizzard's one of the best service-driven game companies in the world. That's sort of like a tall order, and like I don't think Bluehole has done that well at supporting PUBG post-launch. I mean, yeah, they've added maps and stuff, but it sounds like the game's still unoptimized and janky, for lack of a better word.
Janky.
Anything? Laggy, janky.
Yeah. 100%.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens to PUBG when, Call of Duty Blackout comes out. And I'm really interested in seeing what you think of Blackout if you get a chance to play it.
Yeah, I'll get it. I'll get it.
I have a feeling you'll like it. I have a feeling you'll like it a lot because it's kind of quick to get into, and if you die, it's just really quick to get into the next game.
See, that's another thing I really hate about PUBG is like the slowness of respawning. Because again, I'm impatient,
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy Blackout, and maybe next week when you get on here, you can be like, Rand, I totally agree with you. PUBG has some serious issues, and it's Call of Duty. I never thought I'd be this positive on Call of Duty because I don't like the multiplayer, right? At all. I've never really been that much of a fan. I don't really care for Call of Duty's multiplayer, right? And that's maybe like I don't know, like I was more talking about Blackout versus PUBG. Like my personal thoughts on Blackout is like I'm not that big of a fan of it, right? But like I can see that like PUBG's got some serious issues because I think most people are going to be like, this is a better version of it. I mean, it's Call of Duty multiplayer. It's just in a battle royale format. So like when I play it, I'm just like, I don't really care. Like it's it's Call of Duty to me, just on a bigger map, and stuff in the guns you pick up. I'm just not that big of a fan. But then again, I played it on the PlayStation with the DS4. Maybe I need to play it on my Xbox with an Xbox controller. The best controller ever made.
Speaking of Xbox controllers, I've got that new Phantom Shadow translucent controller. Have you seen it?
I have. What do you think of it?
It's the best controller they've ever made in terms of looks.
Every controller is the best controller they ever made, right?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
They got a lot of controllers. I feel sorry for people who actually collect those controllers because, man, they make a lot of controllers.
They sure.
But I really like this one. I usually scoff at the idea of having like tons and tons of controllers. But this is like by far the coolest controller they've made so far, I think.
All right. There was I wanted to actually talk about this while we were talking about Spider-Man before, but totally escaped my mind. And I've seen people throw this around on Twitter and stuff, that if you're Microsoft and you see the success that Spider-Man's done, and you go to Marvel and you want to make an exclusive game, what character would you use to make an exclusive game for Xbox?
Ooh. That's hard. A Marvel character?
Yeah, a Marvel character.
Damn.
Like what character would you think would be, that you would want to see in their own video game made by whatever developer Microsoft wants to make it? Just because I was thinking about Spider-Man's great character, probably the biggest comic book character. Well, definitely the biggest in Marvel, maybe the biggest, ever. Like in terms of like Batman, Superman stuff. But like clearly Warner Brothers doing their own thing with Justice League and Batman. But like, who would you, if you could go to Marvel and make a deal, what character would you want? What character would you want to headline your game?
Oh, that's hard, man. Marvel characters?
I mean, you got Iron Man, you have Black Panther, you got Doctor Strange, you got Captain America, you got Hulk, you got
the first thing I thought was X-Men.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them there. There've been plenty of other X-Men games.
Yeah, isn't the licensing on X-Men complicated though?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Beyond X-Men and Spider-Man, I'm not a huge fan, I'm not a huge fan of Marvel, but I don't really know that many. I think I want to say Wolverine, but wasn't there a Wolverine game fairly recently that was trash?
There was a Wolverine game. It was actually pretty good. It came out on the 360, and I just can't. It was actually based on the movie, which surprisingly was actually not the movie was terrible, but the game I forget what it was called, but the game itself was great. Like actually really good. And there's been a Captain America game that came out last gen. There was an Incredible Hulk.
You can't do a Captain America game if you want to be global.
Okay. Shout out to the Ravenflow for the super chat. He says most of the Xbox fans don't know Sony owns the Spider-Man license. Yeah, I mean, so Sony owned the Spider-Man license for the movies, which is why they had to make the deal with Marvel to get him over to the MCU. I didn't really know how the game license worked. Does Sony own the game license for Spider-Man, or what the licensing issues for that is?
Yeah, I mean, just because they own the license for the movie doesn't mean it wouldn't happen on Xbox. There has been Spider-Man games on Xbox.
Well, I believe Sony owned they licensed it out previously because there was always Spider-Man games on Xbox. I'm just not really sure of the who did what or whatever. Either way, like Spider-Man's exclusive to PlayStation. This is like if Microsoft could do something similar, because I think it's a cool discussion. Like, what superhero would you want to see? You have like Thor. Even there was a Thor game, there was a Hulk game, there was a Captain America game. There was it's kind of X-Men. Like my first thought is X-Men, because you can have a whole bunch of different characters. You have already a whole bunch of different villains.
Yeah, maybe.
And Wolverine's one of the more popular ones. But then you start thinking like, what'd be cool? Maybe a Doctor Strange game. With the magic and the mystical.
Does it have to be Marvel? I would love a really dark, violent Watchmen game. Rorschach, baby.
Yeah, that's Warner Brothers. But yeah, no, this was just a Marvel thing. Like there's Deadpool, but there's already been a Deadpool video game. There's just a lot of characters that you could choose from to make a really cool game. Like Black Panther, with how popular the Black Panther movie was, maybe you make a Black Panther game, which could be very similar in the vein of Spider-Man. Maybe not like, swinging through the streets, but like definitely like the combat could be similar, and you could like run up and down the buildings because you could probably do that and stuff. Captain America, but like you said, do you want that appeal to everywhere in the world? Hulk. There was the Incredible Hulk game on the 360, or the Incredible Hulk Destruction. I forget what the name of it, but people love that game. In fact, it was made by the people who made Prototype before they made Prototype, I think.
Prototype was a weird game.
Prototype was a weird game. Prototype was a weird game. And there are a lot of similarities. People don't want to like talk about this, but there are a lot of similarities between Spider-Man and Prototype too. Definitely. I noticed them when I was playing it.
What about Rise? What about Rise and Spider-Man? I've heard Rise pretty much inspired all games.
Rise inspired every game that has come to exist since it was announced and came out in 2013.
That is awesome. Where's my Rise 2, man? Why can't it inspire a Rise 2?
Yeah, I know, right? Why couldn't Rise inspire? I had always heard that Rise 2, Microsoft wanted to do a Rise 2. It was just that they haggled on the IP. Like Microsoft really wanted to do it, but it was like Crytek that was holding it up or whatever. I don't know. So who would you pick? Just pick a character. Just pick
Rorschach from Watchmen.
Rorschach from Watchmen would be who Jez would want to be.
And it'd be a wide linear game. Maybe by Remedy. They got to games.
By Remedy. Microsoft would tap Remedy to make it? I
don't think Microsoft will work with Remedy ever again. But or maybe it's more accurate.
Well, there's an Alan Wake TV show coming soon.
Nothing to do with Microsoft, though.
I know. See, here's the thing. So I would want to say X-Men, because I played X-Men games and they could be cool, but I'm going to go with something maybe I haven't played, and that'd be Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a character that doesn't...
I don't know. What is Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange, he's like a magician, dude. He's a warlock.
He's a warlock. Can he summon demons?
Probably.
Oh, snap.
But I'm just saying, like,
I don't know.
All the other characters like have had their own games. But like a Doctor Strange game made from like the beginning with like his powers and all that.
What about a V for Vendetta game Made by one of the Ubisoft open world teams. That's more like classic Assassin's Creed. Stealth,
V for Vendetta.
violence.
Huh. Speaking of Ubisoft, did you see that their remastered Assassin's Creed 3?
I did see that, and I quite liked Assassin's Creed 3, even though I think it had the most buggy traversal of all the games, but I actually quite liked the story.
Yeah. But yeah, if any of you guys have any questions you want to ask, I figure we answer some questions and then Jez
I want to
can
hear
Go ahead.
I want to hear people's suggestions for a superhero game too.
Yeah. So hit us up with some questions and then we will get out of here. As it's pretty late for Jez. Make sure you hit the like button as well. We don't even have 100 likes yet.
Oh snap!
I know, right? Slacking on the likes. So, you see the culling just got delisted from the Microsoft Store? I just saw this.
Yeah, but they've released a new one, The Culling Origins.
The Culling Origins. I wonder if anybody even cares about that game. Oh, look, a Nintendo Direct is going on right now.
Oh snap! What are we missing? They just
Uh,
trademarked Golden Sun, so there's that.
New Super Mario Brothers Wii U Deluxe is coming to the Switch, so I guess that's a Wii U game. It's coming over to the Switch because why not? Nobody bought the Wii U and nobody bought those games, so why not bring it to a system that people actually own and buy games for, right?
Mm.
Luigi's Mansions 3? Did they just announce Luigi? I guess they announced Luigi's Mansions 3. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know. None of this stuff really does anything for me though. Let's see here. We got a question. Fuzzy Belvedere, he wants to see a good Terminator game.
Ooh,
I'd like to see a good Terminator game. Indie
RoboCop.
Gamer wants to know what's your favorite Assassin's Creed. My favorite Assassin's Creed is still Assassin's Creed 2. I still think that's the best one, and they've been chasing its coattails ever since.
Yeah, I really like 2 as well. Although, I think my favorite is probably Brotherhood. I really like the Brotherhood system mechanics. And I just like the Ezio trilogy. They were all good in their own ways. I think what was the third one called now? Oh, there was Brotherhood. What was the third Ezio game called? Where he's old.
Revelations.
Yeah, that was a bit weird in some ways, but I appreciated the weirdness, like that whole sort of siege system they put in there. It was interesting.
All right, so Victor Allison wants to know: do you think Xbox could have 343i reboot and reimagine the Shadowrun IP in a Destiny-like setting? I don't think that's going to happen. I think 343 will be always making Halo, unfortunately. And if someone else does make Shadowrun, it'll be from a different studio. What do you think, Jez?
Never played Shadowrun. Never played it.
But I don't know. I think 343 is just going to be working on Halo.
Yeah, 343 will never work on anything but Halo. The whole studio was set up to make Halo. Their DNA is Halo. They'll never make anything other than Halo, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Face wants to know, is Uncharted 4 and Tomb Raider gunplay similar? Well, Jez wouldn't be able to answer that question because he's never played.
No. I have played Uncharted 1 and 2.
Okay.
But I can't remember them. It was a long time ago.
So you don't the gunplay? Is the gunplay similar? I mean, they're similar in the sense that they're both third person shooting. I still think Uncharted gunplay is a little bit better because it has to be. But then again, I haven't really had a chance to use a lot of gunplay in this Tomb Raider right now, so I'm not really sure. The bow and arrow is nice to use, and I get a lot of nice headshots with that. But I try not to use the guns as much as possible. But then again, I like to stealth through as many things as I can. So, let's see. Will wants to know, how about a Marvel fantasy RPG? Doctor Strange, Hercules, Hawkeye, Valkyrie, Crystal, Black Knight, and Scarlet Witch traversing Marvel fantasy realms. Hey, RPGs are cool. I can see Jez doesn't really. He's not really into RPGs, though. So.
Oh, I just thought of one. An X-Men XCOM game. That's a no-brainer. You could have you could choose your different X-Men you want to use that all have different powers, turn-based tactics. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. Face wants to know, with the release of Spider-Man, does that put a nail in the coffin for Sunset Overdrive 2? I don't think so. I don't think so. They talk about it a lot, and they still bring it up, and they still say they want to do it. I still think at some point they probably will do it. Definitely, obviously not this generation. Maybe next gen. But Insomniac loves that IP, and they're very fond of it. So I don't think Sunset Overdrive 2 is dead. I think maybe at some point down the road, years from now, they'll bring it back. Question is, who would be publishing it? Would it be self-published, or would Sony publish it? Microsoft publish it? Nintendo? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, this is the thing. They own the IP, but does Microsoft own the publishing rights? Because that's a deal Microsoft likes.
I think they do own the publishing rights for it, but I don't know. Maybe there's like a time limit on when that expires.
Maybe,
you know, Nintendo with all these exclusives. Everybody's talking about Xbox Direct, Jez.
Xbox Direct. That's new.
Nintendo Direct. I mean, Nintendo Direct.
What are we missing?
I don't know. I don't really care about Nintendo, but
they announced the new Super Metroid.
No, I don't think so. So we're gonna end the show. So you guys can all go check out the Nintendo Direct. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Hopefully we can stick to the Thursday schedule, as you never know when real life gets in the way. But Jez, what do you got going on for the rest of the week?
It's pretty quiet on the gaming front. I'm all hands on with the Surface Go content at the moment. Most people don't realize that actually on Windows Central I actually cover way more than just Xbox, and we're prepping for Christmas right now, which means there's lots of buyer's guides happening right now. Because people want to know what to buy people for Christmas, man.
Right.
Games wise, I'm thinking that I'm gonna review Red Dead Redemption probably.
You should.
I don't review games that often anymore, but I enjoyed reviewing Battle for Azeroth. I took a month to review it. I didn't think anyone would read it because it was so late, because I wanted to play it properly and thoroughly, but actually it got pretty good traffic. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, appreciate it. If anybody wants to hit me up in the DMs about topic ideas for videos, I do field those, as I'm always looking for content to make, So if anybody has any ideas, let me know. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Give me and Jez a liking on the video. Subscribe to the channel, as I'm almost at 19,000. It'd be great to get to 20,000 pretty soon, as that would be a pretty cool milestone, Jez. Wouldn't you think? 20,000 subs on YouTube. Be kind of cool. Appreciate everybody with us live today. All the super chats, everybody's commenting is great. If you're watching this later on Google or iTunes, we appreciate it as well. Hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and we'll be back next week with more chit chat. All right, later, guys. Have a good one, and see you next week. Bye.
Take care, everybody.